live in their host communities, which has led to some challenges for the local government leaders who have little control over how refugee affairs are handled in their districts. Local government leaders are demanding an amendment to the Refugee Act to give refugee host communities the mandate to directly handle refugee issues. All this came up in a new report that was outed by the African Women and Youth for Development, and I'm now joined by the Executive Director of this organization, Rita Nsereko.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sheila.
Okay, so you wrote a report, or you were overseeing the writing of a report. What were the findings, and what exactly informed this study?
Well, thank you, Sheila. African Women has been responding to refugees way back in Palabek before the establishment of the settlement. And we've been working so closely with the local governments, understanding their challenges, because you could find that even if UNHCR has not declared the state of emergency, these refugees are existing in the local governments. And of course, social services are depleted, not in a way that is really constraining the local governments, but in a friendly way. You can take a look at Lamo Palabek. The refugees there really share history with the Choli people of that region, and they are once also hosted in Southern Sudan. So what informed the report was, the research was that we found that after the establishment of the settlement, the local governments were sidelined in the response, yet we have self-settled all the people who decided, refugees, to stay with their relatives.
What do you mean by they were sidelined? What did you find out in the report, or what were the findings of the report?
The findings of the report included that they are not given an extra budget
for the refugees.
For the refugees as local governments, and they do not have a legal mandate to operate under humanitarian response, more especially when they are hosting refugees. So we found that the existence of refugees within their vicinity, yes, is equivalent to their response as a whole community. So it is very prudent for them to be involved, because after all, humanitarian response is short-lived. So these refugees will remain, and yet local governments will not be empowered to cater for them after the actors have left.
So what changes do you need to see in the Refugee Act? What amendments are those that you highlighted in your report?
In the report was disseminated on Wednesday during the colloquium. Luckily enough, we had the key ministries attend, and one of the key issues they mentioned is that this report is going to inform the revision of 3 acts that are very important for the involvement of local governments. For example, the Refugee Act, the NGO Act, and the Local Governments Act. So after consolidating the 3, they are going to have also a representation on the Committee of Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework that is happening, so that they can easily be part of the response program.
All right, so we have refugees as an already vulnerable group, but we have the women and the children who are even more vulnerable in such circumstances. What are some of the challenges that women or the children are facing, if I can just ask?
Actually, not only more vulnerable, they constitute the biggest percentage. Over 86% of the refugees are women and children. This brings back the burden that women face, the unpaid care work. It is doubled, actually, because they don't earn. This has even made some women decide to let their girl children stay at home so that they can support, they can go do some casual labor to earn a living.
So if local governments are given more control, or more budget or more resource allocation, what difference are they going to make in the lives of the refugees? Understanding
that globally we are experiencing almost an empty basket for humanitarian response work. The funds are shrinking. So when local governments are empowered, it's going to ensure sustainability, first of all, and also effective service delivery, because after all, local governments continue to provide social services for all the refugees and hosting communities. And there is already a gap. That's because they do not have that legal mandate. They cannot ask about the 30% that is supposed to be allocated to the districts. Many actors tend to have their resources all concentrating in the response camps rather than the local governments, and it's really depleting their finances.
Okay. I've been speaking to Rita Nansereko, the Executive Director of African Women and Youth for Development, to discuss issues relating to refugee management in Uganda. And speaking of refugees, tomorrow we have an expose on sex trafficking inside the dark world of sex trafficking amongst refugees. It will be airing at 9 p.m. during NTV Weekend Edition in our Sunday segment, Panorama. Be sure to catch that segment. Thank you so much, Rita.
Thank you, Sheila.
That was Talk of the Nation.
Simply buy a 300 ml Pepsi or a 500 ml PET bottle. Shake under the crown, SMS the unique code to 7888 and stand a chance to win instant airtime. There are other great prizes to be won during our events. Pepsi, love it, live it, win it. Proud partner of the UEFA Champions League.
To all my fellow men, what is your stand on HIV testing?
HIV testing? Me fear testing because I have many women.
My wife went for the test the other day and she was cleared. So I think I'm okay too.
My brothers, you shouldn't fear testing because you have many women, or assume your partner's HIV status is yours. Whatever other excuse you have, whether you feel strong or don't have time, go for HIV testing today to know your status so that you are not caught off guard and remain in control of your life.
The African Fine Coffees Association, in partnership with UTZ Rainforest Alliance, is hosting the first ever Uganda Coffee Power Talk under the theme Women and Youth Participation in Coffee Value Chain at the Pearl of Africa Hotel at Ball Hall on Tuesday 27th March from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The keynote speaker will be Mr. Eduardo Sampaio's from Brazil and other incredible speakers from the coffee industry in Uganda. To be part of this event, please send an email to doreen@africanfinecoffees.org or call +256 7933 93992.
Good Friday just got better at Governor with Friday Night Live. Hosted by the legendary Africa Band featuring Kabuye Sambuka. On Friday, March 30th, 2018 for only 50,000 shillings. We've got the Kana and Johnny Walker. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under the age of 18. Please drink responsibly.
Easter means Christ's triumph against sin, death, the grave, oppression, and mortality. And during this season, you can also rise against darkness, poverty, drought with Solanau. Visit your nearest Solanau branch in Kansanga opposite KIU or in Mukono Town near Wantani Stage and get your solar system today or call 0800 700 700. Solanau, power your life.
When I started out, all I had was my dreams, a belief that every man deserves his own home. I got myself a mortgage from Housing Finance Bank and I built this house. I say house because it only became a home when she came into the picture. Like me, she believed we had to build our future. We had a child and needed to open a Total Treasures account. My wife's farming business was boosted with a Housing Finance Agribusiness loan. My friend Brian was so inspired. He took out a salary loan and started his own hardware. The thing is, people know Housing Finance Bank to be the most reliable mortgage bank. So did I. Housing finance has done more than help me build a house. It helped and is still helping us build a future as a family. Housing Finance Bank. We make it easy.
Housing Finance Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda.
Teens are taking over Fanta marketing.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching NTV Weekend Edition, and this is NTV Weekend Sport. Masabo FC midfielder Abraham Dugwa scored on his Cranes debut as Uganda beat visitors Sao Tome to give French coach Sebastien de Sabre a winning start with the senior national team. Defenders Joseph Ochaya and Murishid Juko also registered their names on the scorecard in the international build-up game that saw Sao Tome and Principe pull one goal back through Jose Valera. The game, played at Mandela National Stadium in Nambole, is one of two international build-up games that coach De Sabre hopes to use to audition his players ahead of the September and October Africa Cup of Nations qualification engagements. Uganda will play against Malawi on Tuesday next week in the second international friendly game. We have the highlights of today's game. Now, former local soccer giants Express FC resume their battle against relegation next weekend on the road to Vipers, hoping to snatch a point from the match and keep their survival chances alive. The Wankulukuku-based side, which recently changed its management, is implementing various strategies to ensure they get a lease of life before relegation strikes. In a campaign dubbed Save Express, the fans have so far put together 23 million shillings in cash following a fundraising drive held at the club headquarters at Mutesa II Memorial Stadium. Socialite Brian Chirumira, also known as Brian White, led the fundraising with a 15 million shilling cash contribution. Newly appointed club chairman Haj Hassan Burada pledged 10 million shillings on top of the 1 million contributed by The Uganda Boxing Federation has embarked on drawing a development roadmap for the sport following the confirmation of Moses Muhanji as administrator by the National Council of Sports. The move follows more than a decade of administrative wrangles within the federation that have led to the slow growth of a sport that was once the pride of Uganda.
Leaders of 42 boxing clubs from different parts of the hotel in Masaka to draw a development roadmap for boxing in the country. Organized by the Moses Muhanji administration, the initiative aims to get the sport back on the road after more than a decade of administrative instability.
We thought necessary to start our administration with a proper footing. We cannot afford to do things the way they were done in the past, because we are lucky that at least we know what administration is all about, we know what leadership is all about. So to have a proper footing is where we have to provide for this.
Backed by former boxer and Federation patron Godfrey Nyakana, the 5-year development strategy is expected to target talent identification and proper training, among others.
We think we have a good way to go. We don't have any bad faith against anyone, and we should be looking for a centerpiece, not by any means necessary.
As the country gets ready for the forthcoming Commonwealth Games, local athletes are taking pride in the fact that they're no longer travelling long distances to Kenya to prepare for international engagements. Previously, most Ugandan athletes would camp in Western Kenya for higher altitude training ahead of international events. But this time round, they're all training in Uganda. National champion Joshua Cheptegei says camping in Kapchorwa in his family backyard is geared towards promoting athletics in Uganda.
I remember in 2015 I was training in Kenya from April till the Beijing World Championship in August. And then I said to myself, I need also to go home and inspire the young generation to build up a team together, and we make people believe that when you train from home, you can really have success. So from 2015 September up to now, we have been training from Kapchorwa here, and we believe it is a perfect place for better performance. That's why we see you have the Ethiopians who are running in Europe countries. Sometimes those days, previous years, we had like last year, we had some people from the Netherlands. So we believe Kapchorwa is going to be a catchment center for sports in the future. It's just that the government needs to facilitate and finish create high altitude training center. Then you can begin to see success here. Yeah, otherwise people are really promising and are willing to come to Uganda to train from here because of the security and the good weather.
Thank you so much. That's all we got time for here on NTV Weekend Edition. Remember, tomorrow in our Sunday segment, Panorama, we expose the dirty and dark world of sex trafficking amongst refugees in Uganda. That story airs at 9 p.m. tomorrow. And of course, you can catch that same story in the Daily Monitor on Monday. Have a good night. Up next is NTV Men.
Turning on your world. With over 24 million satisfied customers worldwide and 170 years of existence, let's face life together. Tulinawi.